I'd like to take this time to let you know the information that you need to know for your patterns test. The test consists of 2 multiple choice questions, 3 completion, 8 short answer, and 15 matching for a total of 28 questions. You need to know the information that is found in the pattern envelope. Those 2 items would be the guide sheet and the pattern pieces. And you also need to know the information that is found on that guide sheet. It shows as sketches or pictures of the different things that you can make. It shows you a list and a picture of all the pattern pieces. It shows you how to lay the pattern pieces on the fabric, so the cutting layouts. And it gives you step-by-step instructions for sewing. Okay, the pattern symbols, we'll cover that over your worksheet, so you can identify the actual pictures of those things. Moving on, the next thing you need to know the difference between wearing ease and design ease. Wearing ease is where they add extra room so you can sit, bend, and stretch. Design ease is more of an additional ease built into the pattern beyond the wearing ease. So it adds for like different styles: wider pant legs, fuller skirts, oversized skirts, shirts. Okay, you need to know what the selvage is. A selvage is the finished lengthwise edge of the fabric as it comes off the bolt. Bias is the diagonal edge formed when the fabric is folded so that the crosswise grain is parallel to the selvage. And when you fold it on the bias, it gives it a little stretch. Okay, and then we talked about nap. The definition of nap is a brushed surface, and some fabrics that have a nap to them would be corduroy, suede, and velvet. In the pattern section, it's important to mark fabrics, and from the very beginning we talked about tracing wheels and tracing papers, fabric markers. Those type of things can all be used when we mark fabric. Most of the time we are marking on the wrong side of the fabric. Basting is a temporary stitch. It's a big stitch. It can be done by hand or it can be done by machine, but they need to be easy to remove. Directional stitching shows us which direction to sew. We're going to sew in the direction of the grain. Stay stitching prevents stretching, so we do that like in necklines and armholes. So it's a row of stitching on one layer of fabric that prevents fabric edges from stretching. Darts help a garment fit more smoothly over curved areas. Seams. We need to sew 2 things together, or 2 pieces of fabric or 2 pattern pieces. That's what holds a garment together. So a seam has to have 2 pieces to it. And a normal seam allowance is 5/8 inch, and all patterns assume we're doing a 5/8 inch seam unless they tell us differently. Okay, seam finishes. We can finish it in a variety of ways. We can stitch it and then take pinking shears and pink the edge. We can set our machine to zigzag and finish the edge with zigzag. We can do an overcast stitch like we've done by hand. A clean finish is turning it under, or we can use a serger and serge the edges. Interfacing, you need to know the difference between 2 types of interfacing. Fusible is what we used, and that's iron-on. Non-fusible is sew-on. Definition of grading: when we grade something, we cut it in layers so to reduce bulk, help things lay smoother. Notching and clipping a seam allowance: we're cutting V-shapes on curved areas, help them lay flat. Understitching keeps facings from rolling to the right side, so maybe around the neck or around or armhole. If you're sewing a facing, you don't want it to come out, you want it to stay on the inside, so you would understitch. And then the important thing, press as you go. You don't want things to look like they're homemade. They look better if you press as you go. Press those seams open so they lay nice and flat. Okay, pattern symbols. I've marked the ones that you need to know. You need to know the adjustment lines. That would be number 2 down here, the adjustment lines right there. The adjustment lines are a row of 2 lines. That's if you need to make the pattern shorter or longer, you would use adjustment lines. 3 is the notch. Those are those diamond shaped things. We're gonna cut around them. Okay, and then place on fold. Number 4 here is place on fold, the 2 arrows going to the edge, and we're not gonna cut there. Number 5, the dot. There are some examples or pictures of dots. Number 6, the cutting line. This shows us where we're gonna cut. And then number 7, the stitching line. This is where you're actually gonna show. So that's giving you an idea of where 5/8 inch would be. It's 5/8 inch from the edge or the cutting line. So those are the things that are included in your test. If you have any questions, please contact me.